Hello there, and welcome to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast, where we'll have a little fun, lots of laughs, and discussions on the common sense that needs to be applied to a lot of today's world news issues. And now, the disclaimer. Stay Off My Lawn is not intended as legal, medical, or financial advice. Void where prohibited. No purchase necessary to win. Open to legal U.S. residents 18 or over in the contiguous 48 states. Any resemblance to anyone living or deceased is purely coincidental. Actual price may vary. Only use as directed. Not a member of FDIC. And now, here are your hosts, Mike and Richard.
All right. Welcome to this week's edition of Stay Off My Lawn. It's October 15th, voting day, if you live here in Georgia, 2024. And this is episode number 87. We start early voting today.
Oh, my.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you folks special.
See? But, vote early, vote often, especially if you're a Trump voter. A special welcome to those on the Oracle Talk Radio Network. We join a bunch of other great shows on there. And, of course, we are on 5 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. Not Friday, but Thursdays.
Unlike someone who may have said it was Friday. I won't mention their name, but their initials are Richard.
That's a weird initial. Oh my gosh.
I have no idea where Friday come from. I've said this now for 5 weeks we've been on there?
At least, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Get on their show, on their website. Listen to us on the way home.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that simple. You just go to oracletalkradionetwork.com, scroll down, there's a play button, click it, bam, you're off and running.
There you go. So here we are. It's the middle of the month, October.
Yeah, not much going on. Well, I don't know what we're going to talk about. Oh, we have things planned today.
That's it, folks. We're out of here. Yeah. But we do have our new segment for Auntie Kamala. This is that.
Tis time for Auntie Kamala's words of wisdom for the week.
For Jamaica, one of the issues that has been presented as an issue that is economic in the way of its impact has been the pandemic. So to that end, we are announcing today also that we will assist Jamaica in COVID recovery by assisting in terms of the recovery efforts in Jamaica that have been essential to, I believe, what is necessary to strengthen not only the issue of public health, but also the economy.
I love salad. That's all I can say with that.
Yeah, but that involves a lot of money mixed in with that salad that's going, again, to somewhere other than our country.
Of course. I mean, why are we still talking about COVID relief? I mean, is Jamaica still suffering from COVID? I mean, what's going on there?
Well, November 1st, they've instituted masks again in California.
Oh, have they really? I did not.
Yes, it's supposed to be November 1st. Let's see who complies.
Let's see what else happens in November. Oh yeah, the election. Yeah, I don't.
You're all going to be magically sick if you don't put a mask on that doesn't work anyway, and you get to breathe your own spittle, which will cause you more sickness than not having the mask on. But go ahead.
Keep throwing the bacteria that you're supposed to be spewing in your breath back into your lungs. That sounds like such a good idea.
That's going to help everybody out.
I just don't get these people, man. What is wrong? I like I said, I always assume that when somebody wears a mask inside their car when they're by themselves, it's to keep from licking the windows. I think these or I put a meme up this morning that I think that if you're still wearing a mask today, then it's probably because you're butt ugly, and you're just trying to hide the fact. So. Anyway, what is going on with Jamaica, though? I mean, Jamaica and California, they're still dealing with COVID, apparently, or the financial distress of COVID. It just kills me.
I mean, there's been, I start to say tornadoes, no, hurricanes that gone through, although Florida had pretty much everything. It was these last two storms, all they needed was the apocalypse of the four horsemen and the locusts to fly through, and they would have been covered.
And they would have, that's really all they need to finish them off pretty good. It was like one big storm, though. It was 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, they got 1-2 punch. It was like from anyway.
They had 40 different tornadoes that touched down with the last one, and there were several that didn't just oftentimes with a hurricane, they'll just touch down and they peter out. There's not much there. These were touching down and tearing stuff up and staying on the ground, which is a little abnormal.
Yeah. I never really saw any tornadoes. We saw water spouts once in a while, but I never saw tornadoes when I was a kid. I mean, that was just that's a very, very interesting thing. It just because it's so humid normally, but the hurricanes do that. But it's just, I heard on the radio this morning, there's still over 100,000 people without power on the west coast of Florida. So it's at one point there was 8 million, so they're making a lot of progress. Ron DeSantis has already devoted, I think it was $95 million to clean up at this point. And of course, he gave, and we'll cover this later. He gave some good credit to Biden for not politicizing this, and he's been really good about helping out and making sure that the money is going to be there. Contrary,
that's because they were too busy politicizing
the stuff.
Tennessee.
Yeah, the stuff in North Carolina for sure. It's just it's crazy.
Tennessee, North Carolina, that area.
Just crazy.
It's a mess. They've done nothing. It's not been good.
I think that it's going to get worse before it gets better up there too, because I've seen so many stories, and it's hard to tell the veracity of some of these stories, but that there are dead bodies. That are still going to not be recovered because they're covered in mud and silt and the whole thing. That is just. It's just an ugly, ugly scene. They said I-40, portions of I-40 between Knoxville and where it goes into North Carolina or towards the east anyway, is just portions of that road is just wiped out. It's going to be at least a year before any of that comes back.
A year plus. Yeah.
Ugly, ugly stuff. Did you know that Auntie Kamala wrote a book?
Yes, I'm rather familiar with that and have been checking in on this from time to time, and it just keeps getting, wow. It's like, well, there's one glaring thing in it, and then there seems to be something else, and then there's another thing that just, it's full of, what is the term? BS.
Yes, that's the
term.
Or
initials that I use.
Backstabbers or something, yeah. It was back in 2009 when she released this book. It's called Smart on Crime, A Career Prosecutor's Plan to Make Us Safer. Of course, apparently she's abandoned that whole thing. The book lately, though, has drawn some controversy, and Buck Sexton talked about it, I think it was yesterday, and here's what he had to say.
Kamala Harris plagiarized at least a dozen sections of her criminal justice book, Smart on Crime. Not so smart after all. According to a new investigation, the current vice president even lifted material from Wikipedia. What Kamala has done here in this book is the definition of gross plagiarism. It is copy and because Rufo has the proof. I mean, it's up there. The Kamala Harris book, and then from the Associated Press. The Kamala Harris book, John Jay, Criminal Justice. And Clay, we're talking about like whole sections.
Yeah.
We're talking about cut and paste of maybe, 150 words, 200 words at a time here with some of these.
What do you want to bet that she throws her ghostwriter under the bus on this one? I had no idea.
Well, I didn't know they were doing that.
Yeah.
Don't you dictate to somebody to write it? Is this the same book that has the picture of her grandmother in it? Just air quotes, grandmother.
I would imagine. I honestly don't know.
That was it. Yeah. It like I said, it seems like every day there's something new. It's like, what? Oh, it was plagiarized. Well, there's a shocker. Oh, golly whiz. I would have never thought it would have happened. Give me a break.
Just like in Biden's book, they kind of blame the ghostwriter on things, and it's like, he said that he had the some of this classified information, and so there's something about the Biden-Harris administration and books; they just don't mix very well. There's something.
Well, she has supposedly here's a picture of me with my grandmother, and she's an adult by this time, or adult size. Let's put it that way. Her grandmother died 4 years before she was born.
That's right. She died in 1960. Absolutely.
Yes. So there's that issue with the book, and then trying to say, this is my grandma, and then you go, well, that's not your grandma, but who the heck is this lady? Turns out it's one of the help from the kitchen.
Oh,
Isn't
boy.
that nice?
Isn't that special? When you're not really married to the truth on really any subject, I mean, it's all up for grabs. Anything, yeah. I don't know. She's digging herself more of a hole, and she's fallen behind in the polls really, really badly. I don't know whether we can count on all that or not, but I do know that she's fallen behind in the polls pretty bad.
And people defend her for the stuff, and it's like, do you even know what you're defending her on? Because they're almost quoting from CNN or MSNBC. Tell me you're a Libby that doesn't want to take the time to find out any kind of truth.
No.
They said it, so it must be true. It was on the TV. I saw him say it. He was sitting right there.
It was on that box that lights up in my living room. It's got to be right.
They wouldn't lie to me, would they?
If you don't know by now, since the beginning of COVID, at the very least, if you have not taken a step back and go, yeah, maybe I shouldn't take everything as gospel that's being spewed out from these people, then maybe you should get checked in or checked out or something. You know,
Or you need to check in somewhere.
Yes, absolutely.
Where you've got that lovely wraparound coat.
And it does. It keeps you nice and cozy too. And I think another reason why she's fallen behind in the polls is because when she gets asked a question, a lot of times, it comes out as word salad, like we had an example a minute ago. Here's a good illustration of when you get asked, sometimes if you don't know. Anyway, here's Kamala being asked something where she just doesn't know.
We really would love to know what your plan is to help lower the cost of living.
Yeah. First of all, thank you both for being here. And yours is a story I hear around the country as I travel. And in terms of both rightly having the right to have aspirations and dreams and ambitions for your family and working hard and finding that the American dream is, for this generation and so many recently, far more elusive than it's been. And we need to deal with that.
Deal with what? I was lost about 30 seconds into that.
It's hard to repeat something when someone's talking in your ear and you're trying to say it back as they're saying it to you. You start to sound like William Shatner.
Oh my gosh, that's perfect.
It's like everything she's doing, anytime she's in front of somebody, it's the same earrings. We already know that they're listening and talking back to her. She was telling somebody a recipe. We saw that one where she goes, yeah. Just a minute. Yeah, no, I'm here. I can hear you.
I know.
Is it okay if I keep talking about the recipe? Haven't you seen that one?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Yes.
And I didn't know if it would translate all that well into audio since we don't have the video, but it was pretty bad. She was obviously, I mean, she didn't even try to hide it. I mean, she was like, had her hand up to her right ear also. But I mean, with Obama, and then the one example I saw of her doing that when she was talking about the recipe, is it Obama? Then they showed an interview that I think Stephen Colbert did with Obama before he left office. He goes, yeah, if I could do a third term where I sat in the basement with my sweats. And so if Obama's talking to her, he's lost a step, I think. And we actually have an example of this later on.
Oh, yeah, boy. It's just, you don't chastise people. You need to vote for me. What do you mean you're not going to vote for me? Let me tell you, you better do it. What? What are you going to do?
It's another example of Biden saying, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. And unfortunately, I don't think it really translated very well. I think anyway, we'll hear from BHO later. But here's Trump being asked basically
Wasn't that a group one time?
Yeah, BHO Overdrive or something. Yeah. Here's Trump being asked basically the same question, and his answer is a little different.
How are you going to bring down the cost of food and groceries?
Good. Very good. Thank you. So we have to start always with energy, always. I don't want to be boring about it, but there's no bigger subject. It covers everything. If you make donuts, if you make cars, whatever you make, energy is a big deal. And we're going to get that. It's my ambition to get your energy bill within 12 months down 50%. If I can do that, you've done a hell of a job. 5-0, not 15, 50. Interest rates are going to follow, and actually they're going to follow for another reason. The economy is now not good, and interest rates, you'll see they'll do the rate cut and all the political stuff tomorrow, I think. And, will he do a half a point? Will he do a quarter of a point? But the reason is because the economy is not good. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do it. But we're going to get interest rates down, and we got to work with our farmers. Our farmers are being decimated right now. They're being absolutely decimated. And, one of the reasons is we allow a lot of farm product into our country. And we're going to have to be a little bit like other countries. We're not going to allow so much We're going to let our farmers go to work.
I like the practicality of his answers. He actually had energy. Energy is a big part of overhead for all these.
People don't understand. It's oil. I mean, that's what you got to get rid of the oil because your car should run on something else. Yeah, right. Well, that ain't working either.
It sure is.
Oh, speaking of which, we're about out of time, but there's a new Ram pickup that's extended, that's XD, extended distance. You want to know how they get extended distance out of it?
They put a gasoline engine in it.
No, they're pretty close. They put a trailer behind it that's a diesel electric generator, so it'll charge you up while you're going down the road.
Oh my gosh.
I kid you not. That's how they get to have the extended distance package.
Why am I not surprised? Oh my gosh.
Oh, yes. Biden, or you may have something on this later. Obama was trying to make fun of Trump. Well, he didn't have a plan. Yeah, he does. Ask him. He'll tell you. You guys haven't got a clue in, well, I grew up a middle class. What the hell's that got to do with fixing anything? And when I get in office, I'm going to fix it. You caused it. Fix it now.
That's the thing. They've got the opportunity to fix it now. If the problems didn't exist before they came into office, because what Trump, we were energy independent and we were able to just consume our own oil. So we didn't have these issues.
1.4%, I think it was.
Inflation. That's
inflation was virtually nothing.
Yeah. Of course, they try to throw the narrative out there. It was 9%. It's not even close.
No, it didn't get 9% until after you took office and started. When you get rid of the oil, everything we have, the truckers got to get there, the diesel engines on the trains that have to pull it, everything that delivers and gets you food from one side of the country to another runs on fuel.
Absolutely.
And if you aren't running on oil and getting it from place to place and the cost of that goes up, the cost of getting it to you is going to go up.
When diesel per gallon, it goes from I think it was 2 something when Trump left office, up to 5 something at one point it was. It's like, well, that money's got to be taken up from somewhere. It gets added on to the product that you buy in the stores. It's just the way it is. I mean, the consumers always pay for it. That's why Reagan called inflation the hidden tax. And actually, we have that. We can actually play that next week. I've still got that from Reagan, but that's exactly what it is. When inflation, when you start printing money, inflation, it's all bad. And of course, well, whatever. Hey, we are over again. Somehow we talked through our break. When we come back.
That never happens.
I don't know what's wrong with those people. When we come back, we're going to hear from a little Michigan town that threw out their whole school board or local government, whatever, and they got rid of these people all in one shot because they weren't doing what the community wanted. It's fantastic. It's a good example for the rest of us. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
Guests on the Stay Off My Lawn podcast stay at the luxurious Motel 6, right off I-75 on Highway 20.
Hi, I'm Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. This is a message for the people of America, given in my authentically recorded, non-AI voice. Thanks to my leadership over the last several years, California has become a world leader in extremist, left-wing governance. My policies were so effective that almost 1 million people are now fleeing the state every year. We even ran out of U-Hauls. Last year, I cleaned up the dangerous, messy streets of San Francisco, because Chinese Communist President Xi was coming, and I really wanted to impress him. He's my boss, after all. This year, I signed legislation that allows me to take custody of your kid if you refuse to give him artificial hormones and chop off his genitals. On my watch, the cost of living and homelessness have skyrocketed. Schools are failing. Drug dealers and human traffickers are pouring across the border. And poop has covered the sidewalks of San Francisco. This is the positive, joyful vision we offer as Democrats. That's why I'm enthusiastically endorsing Kamala Harris for president in 2024. She'll do to the country everything I did in California. Anyway, I'm California Governor Gavin Newsom, and I approve this 100% real message. This isn't a deep fake, and you can rest assured that it isn't, because I just signed an unconstitutional law outlawing deep fakes. No one would dare violate it. Thank you, and science bless America.
Smooth is our middle name. Hey, welcome back to Stay Off. Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn. Segment 2. If your local government, school board, or whatever is doing things or carrying out business in a way that is against the values of most of the people in your community, it can make you feel kind of powerless. These people are allowing this pornography into schools and all that kind of stuff, all these examples that you hear online and everything. One Michigan community has done something about it. It's fantastic. Here's that news story.
Voters in a small Michigan township tossed out their entire town board last night. A locksmith was even brought in to change the locks on the ousted officials' former offices late night. They were voted out because they supported a controversial battery plant linked to the Chinese government. It is the latest dramatic chapter in a story News Nation's been covering for the last year. And News Nation's senior national correspondent Brian Enton joins us now from Michigan. You were here last night and said that they were going to change the locks if they managed to kick them all out, and they did.
Yeah, they changed the locks, Elizabeth. I think this is almost something Americans all over the country sort of fantasize about, booting out their local government if they don't like them and they're not getting the job done. Well, that's what happened here in Green Charter Township. We're in the town hall. It's very strange because the government is just gone. They all packed up yesterday. This was the supervisor's office. He took his desk, took a bunch of other stuff. It's empty now. The clerk's office down here, Elizabeth, where they do a lot of the town business, is just empty. The new board members are going to move in, get everything going, and they say one of their biggest priorities is stopping that project that's associated with China.
The more we can get China out of our lives, the better. But
are they going to have to pay back the money that they were given to put that? I don't know how that works.
Who cares if that's what it takes, and that's what it takes. Yeah. They're buying up.
No, I mean the individuals that were paid to all vote. A wink, wink, certain way that they wink, wink were asked that maybe you could do this. Wink, wink. Yeah.
I would imagine if they were paid from some offshore account, then yeah, I could see where they might pull that back. I could see that totally.
Hooray, hurrah! And what blows me away the most, this was in Michigan.
I know
Michigan's not super righty. They're kind of a swinger, and they'll go whichever way the wind's blowing sometimes.
Well, these are the people that reelected was it Whitmer? I can't remember her first name. After the COVID debacle that she put her state through, they reelected her. So, I mean...
I don't understand. Well, I know that name, so I'll vote for that one. I'm good at voting.
You just got to wonder. And the Chinese government, I mean, this is a good example for all of us because they have bought up so much land, especially near Air Force bases, to build certain plants or whatever. It's like everybody in the whole country needs to stand up and go, this is not okay. The federal government, hopefully if Trump gets elected, he will actually step in and say and make a moratorium where they cannot not come in and buy up land at all. I don't think the Chinese government, the Russian government, any other government should be coming into our country buying up land for any reason.
Oh, it's just farmland. Oh, yeah, there's an air base that's like 4 miles down the road, but it's just farmland.
Yeah, but think about how many subdivisions have been put up on just farmland that people have bought up. I mean, you could put whatever you want out there. You could put listening devices or any kind of. It's sort of like that. Somebody was mentioning this to me the other day, the balloon that came over from China. It's like, well, of course they made a couple of circles around Grand Forks Air Force Base and did all kinds of surveillance. And it's like, I mean, come on now. We do need to just stop that crap.
Yeah, it's enough's enough. Isn't that kind of what the term is? And
I think so.
America's finally just had enough. This stuff has gone on way longer than it should have. And it's like, I don't care anymore. That's not right. So good for the people in Michigan that tossed them all out.
Absolutely.
Rah, rah, yay. I'm all for them.
You know, I've got a cousin that's in Western Michigan where he lives near the coast on the western part of Michigan. He said it's extremely conservative over in that area. Really, it's more the southeast Michigan where Detroit and all the auto plants and all that. That's where it's kind of the bastions of liberalism, but that's where all the population is too, the heavy population. Yep. It's like any other state. If it wasn't for Atlanta, we would be it's deep red as Wyoming is. But anyway, speaking of people aren't putting up with stuff, more and more scientists and professors are standing up for the truth and the scientific method recently. And one I saw is wearing a piece of, one thing is like wearing a piece of paper or cloth over your mouth. It's supposed to, keep deadly viruses away or standing 6 feet apart. None of that is science-based. And people are standing up and actually saying
no, it was all just made up.
It was all made up. Absolutely.
And they've already admitted that it was just like, this sounds good. Let's tell them that. Yeah.
We just thought maybe that would work. I don't know. These are the people we look to that, like the Faucis of the world that are coming down with these. Anyway, there's an Australian.
Well, he's been laying low for a while.
I haven't seen him hardly at all. I don't know what he's doing right now.
I think he supposedly retired on his $500,000 a year salary that he was getting. He was making more than the president.
Yeah. He was making more than anybody else in federal government, I think.
Yeah. He just kind of went away and said, they're trying to get me to go to the Gray Bar Hilton, and I don't want to, so I'm going to go hide.
Well, he's 80-something. Why are you still working if you're 80-something, first of all?
You have a hunger for power, and you don't like giving it up. That's the only thing.
That's the right answer. It's the only answer it could be.
Yay! Do I get to go on to the lightning round?
You get to hang out at least through next break. So
oh, yay.
Oh, yes. He never gets excited when I give him stuff. Anyway, here's the Australian professor Ian Pilmer. He's calling out something else.
No one has ever shown that human emissions of carbon dioxide drive global warming. Never been shown. And if it could be shown, then you would have to show that the 97% of emissions, which are natural, do not drive global warming. Game over. We are dealing with a fraud. It's a scientific fraud from day one. We hear the propaganda that increases of the gas of life, a trace gas in the atmosphere, will bring a disaster and that we will have runaway global warming. Sorry, folks, we've known for 200 years from chemistry that it's the exact inverse. When we drill into ice, we have chemical fingerprints that tell us what the temperature was, and we have little bits of trapped air. And we can show that when we had natural warming, some 650 to 6,000 years later, we had an increase in carbon dioxide. It's not carbon dioxide that drives temperature. It's the exact inverse. Another fraud.
And like a friend of mine asked me, he's like, you don't believe in global warming? You don't believe the earth is getting warmer? So, if it is, let's say, what was the last cataclysmic thing in this world? It was the Ice Age from 12,000 years ago, right? Yeah, I guess so. So what made us come out? What made us get warmer from the Ice Age? Was it because people were driving too many Chevy Tahoes and we built up too much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere? Do you think that was what it was? Are you serious? And they're like going, well, I hadn't thought about it like that. Well, it's time we start thinking about things.
Yeah. Instead of just going, oh, they say it's global warming, and Greta Thunberg says we're all going to die if, like, we don't, like, get rid of all this stuff.
Speaking of lying low, I haven't heard from her in a while either.
Well, she's gotten caught 2 or 3 times recently staging stuff, and it's like, no, you're not a cute little girl anymore. You're now fair game. Sorry, I think she's 19, 20, something like that.
She's got to be. Now you're just an uneducated, annoying teenager or a millennial
or young adult.
Young adult, yeah, which is annoying in and of itself. But yeah, I mean, it's who in the world? I think she was like 12 or 11 when she first came out and started spouting all this stuff, and everybody in the world stopped and go, "She's so right! Oh my gosh!" It's like, what is wrong with you? Have you lost every bit of common sense in your brain? I mean, it's crazy. Anyway,
yeah, I think her time has come and gone. So I don't know. They still try to trot her out every once in a while, but of late, yeah, she's been caught doing stuff that, when you get desperate and you want to keep pushing things along, you got to do things in a nefarious manner.
I guess. I mean, it's sort of like...
I love that Australian guy, by the way. I've seen so many things from him, and he just flat goes, no. Yep. That's not right, period.
He's got the guts, and apparently he's at the age where he doesn't care if he gets canceled. But he's out there spewing the truth, and I love him. I think it's great. Whenever I see a video of him talking about stuff, I always stop and listen. I think you sent me this. Yes. Yeah, that was
and I like how he talks about because they're down in the South Pole, and they have drilled big, huge. I mean, that ice has been there forever in a month of Sundays. Right. As the old saying goes. And so that's how they know what's going on. You're not hearing anything from down there. No. They know what the right is. He's been to all that stuff. It's like, no, yeah, the oceans probably rose when all that ice and snow and stuff melted everywhere when the whole world was basically covered in ice because there was a cataclysmic, the volcanoes all went off and darkened everything. When that went away, guess what happened? We warmed up.
Yep.
And they're saying that the polar ice caps are good. No, they're actually increasing right now. So, go away.
Well, they cleverly edit all that too. They'll take a picture of the summer and then in the winter say, "Look how much it's gone." It's like, oh my goodness gracious! But it is like a religion, though. It really is. It's a religion.
What, snow goes away in the summer? What? No.
Who'd have thunk it? But it is. It's like this global warming thing is like a religion. You adhere to it. It's like a cultish religion. You adhere to it without any evidence, just because it seems right. Like the whole SARS-CoV-2, because I guess we can't say the other word. We get canceled. But I mean, if you have put on a mask and you've taken these jabs for so long, it's like it's become a religion. Well, I can't admit I'm wrong now. I mean, I have to stick to my guns. Anyway.
Well, back when I was in high school, it was Leonard Nimoy telling me we were all going to freeze to death. Right. He was in this big, huge parka, like the North Pole that they wear with all the fur around his head, and telling us, we are going to be, and are showing nothing but drifting snow and ice. And no, it didn't.
The TV show was called In Search Of. So if you go back and find, I think it was from 1978. I remember that exactly. Because Leonard Nimoy, he was such a big star from Star Trek. Everybody watched whatever he was on. Anyway.
Leonard wouldn't. Spock wouldn't lie to us, would he?
It's
illogical.
Exactly. He's Vulcan. He can't lie. Anyway. Auntie Kamala had another interview, but this time it was on CBS. And they got caught doing some crafty editing. It was really good.
No,
critics
CBS
are calling out
Here she is.
Critics are calling out CBS News for several editorial missteps. The big one, a recent decision to edit a response from Vice President Harris, which seemingly went in her favor. The media outlet now facing calls to release an unedited copy of the entire interview with Harris.
Well, unfortunately, CBS, they thought they were being crafty, I guess. But right after the interview, they released an unedited clip for like a promo. And here's what that sounded like.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
Gosh, it just makes my eyes hurt for some reason. Just listening.
Now, tell me this. Do you not hear Shatner in the way when she's trying to repeat what's coming to her in her ear?
Shatner even does better than that. No, I agree. But, for total word salad again. But anyway, this is how it sounded actually on 60 Minutes.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Totally different. That was
not even the same answer edited together, so it was a little tighter and sounded more like conversational speak. That's not even the same answer.
It's not even close. I don't know what she was answering, but actually she sounded like she had a brain cell in that one.
God almighty, that was just absolutely horrendous. And there's too many people out there that want nothing to do with her. She's not a very nice individual. No. People do not like her.
She's gone through a lot of stuff.
It's like, oh, you're going to treat me like this? I'm going to release this. I have stuff where I can get the info.
There you go. Well, and there's no wonder that President Trump has denied sitting down with for another interview with some of these people, because if they're going to creatively edit to favor her, they can creatively edit to not favor him. So anyway, he did, and they do that anyway to make him look bad, and I'm just whatever. So anyway, we're up against a break. When we come back, we're going to hear from helpful people to Kamala's campaign, Barack Hussein Obama and Bill Clinton. They both did such a good job this past weekend. We've got to give them some props. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
More of the Stay Off My Lawn podcast is coming up.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
It's hard to believe, but it's true. Even the liberal media was shocked Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners and illegal aliens.
Every transgender inmate would have access.
Kamala's for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
And when something gets on my nerves. Anyway, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 3. And we're already, the cheerleaders have left the field. It's hard to believe, but Obama is out on the campaign trail for Kamala. I mean, who would have thunk? But anyway, he's no doubt.
And not in his sweats, no less, which is somewhat impressive, I guess.
That's true. Without the little microphone that he's talking through the earrings. No doubt in part, anyway, due to her terrible poll numbers, especially with African Americans. One poll I saw recently where black guys, anyway, are voting for Trump. 30% of them. Those numbers are unheard of for a Republican candidate. It just doesn't.
Yeah, she's just barely 70% in with black males is what I was seeing when even with Biden or especially Obama was like 95% or some such
easily.
number. And the numbers have dropped all the way down to just a little over 70.
And I think that it was only a few weeks ago where she was doing like 75, 80, especially when she first came out of the convention, and she was doing halfway decently well. But I mean, it looks like Trump has gained like 10% of those specific voters just in the last few weeks. So anyway, here's Barack Hussein Obama being the nice guy that we all know him to be.
Communities is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles
with you
and pain and joy that comes from those experiences. Who's had to work harder and do more and overcome and achieves the second highest office in the land.
You know, I just
what was he done? I'm sorry.
He's lost a step, really. I mean, it's just amazing.
Well,
he used to be such a
you
good
listen to
orator.
him and you listen to Kamala when she's trying to come up with an answer. It's pretty much his speech pattern.
It really is.
He's in the basement telling her how to answer this thing that you need to answer.
And
Watto, is he still talking?
And I think that's where Kamala comes up with that accent too once in a while, because you heard it. He goes, for a minute here, I'm going to talk to the brothers. And I'm like going, you don't normally talk like that, Barack, come on now. Then he's like, he used the word which it's just hard to get past. But anyway, he's normally extremely, his speech is perfect. So anyway, I just think it's just
he was trying to tell him essentially what Biden told him last time. If you're black and you're not voting for me, you ain't black.
That's right. Oh my gosh. Right.
It's kind of like, so then I come out here to talk to you. You will vote for the person I tell you is right. Are you brown shirts? Are you with me?
Orange is not the new black. I think that's what the whole they don't like the orange guy, and apparently that show is just getting on their nerves. But I just think it's terrible that you're saying because you're the brothers, then you got to vote a certain way. I think, how condescending can you be? I mean, I just think it's terrible. I think that, and I've heard a lot of people. I think it was Officer Tate, who we like to watch him, and there was somebody else that called him out too. I think it was David Harris that has called him out and said, this is awful the way you talk to people just because they have a certain skin color, the same one as yours. At least half of them. It's like I just think that's just a terrible thing to say, because if somebody said because you're white you should vote for whoever, I think that's stupid. Because you're Hispanic you should vote for whoever. I really thought we were past all this, but apparently back in 2008 everything changed. So I don't know.
This is he's the one that divided things, and that community, the black community, there's been several people speaking out that you're talking down to me, and I'm looking around and my community hasn't changed one iota. All the things you were promising, this is going to get done, we're going to have this thing, nothing is done. He's not a thing. Why am I going to keep voting for Democrats? He goes, they're not for the little guy. I can tell you that. I'm a little guy and they ain't for me.
Yeah.
So you're starting to see some of that. People are going, what the, I've been a, what? And all of a sudden they're waking up.
I think we heard the Benny on the Street interviews where he was in New York City. He was talking to a lot of the black people that were walking by. And man, it was like almost all of them. Now, maybe it was editing. I don't know. But almost all of them were saying, I'm voting for Trump. These Democrats haven't done anything for us. Our community hasn't changed at all.
Yep.
I'm
hearing the same things from different sources. They're just going, this ain't right.
Yeah. And Trump has this whole thing. It's like a rising tide raises all boats. And that's exactly how his four years in office worked. Every demographic got better. So I just think that people are smartening up. Like you said, everybody's waking up, and it's just not gonna work anymore. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, you always have Bill Clinton on your side,
Lord.
especially on the immigration front. Here's Bill Clinton this past weekend.
You had a case in Georgia not very long ago, didn't you? They made an ad about a young woman who'd been killed by an immigrant. Yeah, well, if they'd all been properly vetted, that probably wouldn't have happened. But if they're all properly vetted, and that doesn't happen, and America is not having enough babies to keep our populations up. So we need immigrants that have been vetted to do work. There wouldn't be a problem.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
I think you should make that an ad. I added that in there.
I like the ad. It's like, yeah, Americans aren't having enough babies, but by God, you can go get an abortion at the drop of a hat. Why aren't we having more babies?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a million of them that could be here this past year. But with Bill Clinton, I don't think he realized what he was saying. He was actually making Trump's case for him. I think it's,
and the border czar wasn't doing her job. He pretty much said that without saying it.
Exactly. We need to vet these people. And you can't vet somebody from a third world country anyway, no matter where it is, whether it's Yemen, whether it's Guatemala, whatever, because there's no paper trail. They show up and it's like, you take their DNA and fingerprints. It doesn't match anything because they're not in any system anywhere.
Yeah. That, and there was some gentleman, not a mainstream media, obviously, was a reporter on the Mexican side of the wall. Just thousands of IDs all over the ground. Before they cross over, they get rid of their IDs. They're pitching them.
Ain't that something? Yeah.
They had to have the IDs to get here, but not to go into USA.
Yeah, well, I mean, but if you have an ID, you can be vetted, and they can find out, just like they did with the 13,000 people that had committed murder in their home countries, or the 16,000 that we know of that had sex crimes that they were convicted of in their home countries. So that's why they get rid of their IDs. It's like, it
takes a little longer to vet them and find out. Exactly. And here's a phone. We'll call you when you need to show up for your court trial.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years down the road.
They're going to show up.
Sure.
They're honest. They're good. They're all just really good people, right?
Of course. Everybody shows up for their court date, don't they? This whole thing is like, again, this is what this show is all about. It's like we try to inject common sense into things, and it's like, seems like a lot of the Democrats, at the very least, have sucked all the common sense out of these issues. Common sense is you don't let somebody in if you don't know who they are or what their background is. If you can't prove who you are, then I'm sorry, you can't come in. It's the same with my front door. You come to my front door and you don't tell me who you are, and I can't check out who you are. I don't care what kind of widget you're selling, you're not coming in my front door. It should be the same with the country. It's not because I hate you. It's because I love the people inside that I don't let you in. And it's the same with the country. It's just the way it goes. So anyway, yeah, I know.
Anyway,
I annoy myself. I get so upset. Anyway, there were some reports on the mainstream media. Of course, it was the mainstream media that are trying to say that Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, was trying to politicize these last two hurricanes that have come through and impacted his state, saying that he wouldn't take a phone call from Kamala. He was asked about this, and here's his response.
There was some praise that came your way from President Biden and said that you had spoken. Then there was this brouhaha over Vice President Harris apparently reaching out to you and maybe not taking the call, and this whole thing, accusations that this had all become politicized. Can you just speak to what happened there?
I am working with the President of the United States. I'm working with the Director of FEMA. I'm marshaling all my state assets. We've been doing this now nonstop for over 2 weeks between Helene and this. And so if there's anything I can leverage to benefit my people, I'm going to do it. The fact of the matter is they put out a story saying I didn't even know she was trying to reach me, but she has no role in this process. And I've been dealing with these storms in Florida under both Trump and Biden. Neither of them ever politicized it. And in fact, all the storms I've dealt with under this administration, although I've worked well with the president, she has never called in Florida. She has never offered any support. So what she's doing is she's trying to inject herself into this because of her political campaign. So as the governor here who's leading this, I don't have time for those games. I don't care about her campaign. Obviously, I'm not a supporter of hers, but she has no role in this process. And so I'm working with the people I need to be working with. We're leveraging the resources I need to be leveraging. And for her to try to say that my focus should be on catering to her rather than worrying about my own people just shows she doesn't understand what it means to respond to these natural disasters.
Yeah, I mean, what role does she have at this point? I mean, she's not the hurricane czar; she's the border czar.
Yeah, and she's trying to pretend. If you haven't noticed lately, she's pretending a lot to try and be presidential, and it ain't working, and it's not coming off that way. It's anything but presidential.
Yep. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I mean, she's had a staff turnover to the point of, 95% of her staff has turned over. She can't keep help. Nobody wants to work for her. She chastises people. She tells them how you have to address me. And it's like, this is not a pleasant individual.
You know, there's a correlation between her and Hillary. Hillary had a lot of staff that didn't want to work with her either. And I don't know what it is about those two specifically, but it's like they're just extremely hard to work with, and they're condescending. Or I know with I heard from a Secret Service agent that worked with Hillary specifically. They were assigned to Hillary. I mean, she would cuss you up and down in a heartbeat over nothing. That something wasn't even your fault. Now I don't know whether Kamala has done that or not, but I know she's not very, like you said, she's just not very nice.
Yeah,
and there's no reason.
Not a pleasant individual. Well, since we've gone long, we went way long on the first one. Do we want to stop here before we go on?
Let's stop here. Let's stop here. Then we'll come back and we'll talk about the Trump rally in Coachella, which was pretty interesting. There had a lot of interesting speakers there. So hang in there. We will be right back.
Stay tuned for more of the stay off my lawn, but you know the thing. Anyway, they'll be right back.
I, Kamala Harris, am your Democrat candidate for president because Joe Biden finally exposed his senility at the debate. Thanks, Joe. I was selected because I am the ultimate diversity hire. I'm both a woman and a person of color. So if you criticize anything I say, you're both sexist and racist. I may not know the first thing about running the country, but remember, that's a good thing if you're a deep state puppet. I had 4 years under the tutelage of the ultimate deep state puppet, a wonderful mentor, Joe Biden. Joe taught me rule number 1, carefully hide your total incompetence. I take insignificant things and I discuss them as if they're significant. And I believe that exploring the significance of the insignificant is in itself significant. Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time, and there is such great significance to the passage of time. Another trick is trying to sound black. I pretend to celebrate Kwanzaa, and in my speeches, I always do my best Barack Obama impression. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. And okay, look, maybe my work addressing the root causes of the border crisis were catastrophic, but my knowledge of international politics is truly shocking. The United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. It is an alliance that is strong and enduring. And just remember, when voting this November, it is important to see what can be unburdened by what has been. And by what has been, I mean Joe Biden. Do you think the country went to over the past 4 years? You ain't seen nothing yet.
Okay, we're on down the home stretch. I'm going to get some breakfast, and coming up on the inside. Okay, here we go.
You could call it like that if you want to. Hey, welcome back to That would be a fun way to bring it in. Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 4. We were almost at the Belmont Stakes here a second ago, but
I'm off.
Anyway. We are on the home stretch. Again, if you got your legs crossed, you need to cross them the other way because your feet are going to get numb. If you're in our demographic anyway, Trump had a rally in Coachella, California recently. I think was it Saturday? Saturday. I believe it was Saturday. Yeah, I think it was Saturday, and had an estimated 101,000 people in attendance. And a great pastor friend of mine in Southern California that he spoke there. I've been listening to him for 25 years. Greg Laurie, he spoke there. And of course, Dennis Quaid, who was the actor in the movie Reagan recently. Apparently he's letting his conservatism show a little bit. It's sort of like, Marilyn Monroe standing over a vent for the New York subway system. But anyway, he spoke there and he gave a little advice.
I'm here today to tell you that it's time to pick a side. Are we going to be a nation that stands for the Constitution or for TikTok? Are we going to be a nation of law and order or wide open borders? Which is it? Because it's time to pick a side.
I don't know what it is, and I don't want to pick on him at all, but it almost sounds like he took a couple of shots of something before he went.
I was going to say the same thing. Don't feel bad. Pick a side, damn it. You guys are all worthless unless you pick one or the other. But he's wrong. That's the word that's been out for a while now is this is not about Democrats and Republicans. It's about good and evil.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
And the one that's going, I just don't want to give up my TikTok because I've got so many people that watch me do stupid things. It's great.
TikTok. Oh my gosh. What is wrong with people?
I have no account on there and no desire to have one.
Yeah. I made one a while back because everybody was saying all the voiceover people have a TikTok.
Yeah. You got to have one. If you just go on there and just read something, you'll get thousands of views. Yeah. Okay.
I never
Are
tried.
any of them going to hire me? No,
because they're all broke young people. But I did. I made an account. I went on there and I looked around a little bit. I'm going, I'm not easily offended, but this is awful. I don't care if you're 45 years old and you think you're hot stuff and you're dancing. I don't care about any of that stuff. What is it? It just wasn't interesting to me.
Yeah. So, somebody sent something and you have to go in and click on. I'm not on TikTok, but I could see now. I can't see them anymore because it's making me, you need to sign up. Because the stuff that was coming along with the one thing that they sent that they wanted made me feel so dirty.
It is. Yeah. I need to take shower. Yeah. It's really, really, really bad. I don't understand.
Icky. It's just icky.
I got friends that still send me TikTok videos, but and I feel like sometimes I am, and I think that's just part of maturing maybe. But I don't mind being called a prude. You call me whatever. I've been called a lot worse, and it's only 12:30. So that was just today. But I really don't care about being called a prude because in some ways that's probably true. But anyway, there's this guy, billionaire and wealth building coach, Grant Cardone. He was there speaking as well. We were just talking about that. We weren't really I wasn't familiar with him until a friend of mine up in Nashville told me about him a while back. But he's supposedly big in he's a real estate mogul. He does all kinds of stuff. He's does all these classes, wealth building classes and everything. But anyway, he had this is about a minute and a half, but he had some really good things to say at that Coachella.
These people, ladies and gentlemen, are the bidders of the elites. They are puppets to the elites. They are liars. They will tell whatever story they want to tell because they are doing the bidding of others. And worst of all, they are incompetent. They're sick and incompetent. They have never, ever, ever worked in the private sector. They have never done what you've done, balanced a budget, started a company, had to deal with regulations. And both of them, their entire careers depend on taxpayer dollars. Now, she by herself is either, I mean, just look at her plans, her financial plans. How many of you here are concerned about the economy? That's why I'm here today. I'm concerned about the economy. She is either completely and totally financially illiterate, a dodo, a dunce, a dum-dum, because all you got to do is look at her plans. Anybody with fucking basic math can tell you, basic five-year-old, I got a 15-year-old. I got a 15-year-old here right now that looked at her economics. We sat down and talked about it. She's like, none of this makes sense. Okay? She wants to build 3 million homes when we need 4 million, and she let 20 million people in the country.
He goes on, but it's very
Carry
good.
the one divided by the air quotient of the. No, that's not going to work.
I don't know if she's been in the private sector, really. I mean,
No.
I think
She's
Willie,
never done anything but been in government.
yeah, and I think Willie Brown gave her start, and there's all kinds of things about that. But I think the first job that he gave her, she was making like $400,000 a year. So I think Barack Hussein Obama's message
She must have been real good at what she did.
That's what I'm thinking. But for him to say that she can relate with the brothers by making $400,000 a year, this is back in the 80s, I think it was. Come on.
Like $1 million today.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, yeah, her economics plan, it just doesn't seem like a...
No, there's not. And like I was talking earlier, there's a video of him making fun of Trump because he don't have any answers. He doesn't have any plans. Yeah, he does. Ask him. He'll tell you what it is.
Yeah.
It's there for everybody to read and see. Mm-hmm. So I don't know where you're getting that from, but Kamala... We've heard, 3 clips from her today, and they were all just, here, let me toss this salad a little more. Yep. There's some words at the bottom that didn't get stirred up that mean nothing.
And you're right. He answers the questions whenever somebody asks him about the economics plan. And plus, he's already proven himself over the first 4 years that he was in office. But
yeah, they don't have anything to run on. No. They have nothing to say. Look at what we've done. This is and Kamala was even given an opportunity to say what that she didn't like about the Biden regime, if you will. And they asked her, is there anything that you would change about Biden's policies? And it's like, nope, can't think of a thing. Yep. We're doing just great. Well, she doesn't know what's not good. Nothing affects her. She can eat wherever she wants, whenever she wants, and has plenty of money in her bank account.
Absolutely.
She hasn't got a clue in hell what it's like to go, do I go get medicine this month or do I get some groceries? I saw an elderly lady that was talking about, I really want to eat healthy, but I just don't have enough. And I don't get the fresh vegetables. I just have to walk by them. They're so expensive. Yeah. Kamala doesn't understand that. She hasn't had anybody in her family ever have to deal with that.
She probably hasn't shopped for herself in many, many decades, I would think.
Rant, didn't I? Sorry.
But when that interviewer asked her that question, all I could see what he was trying to do is give her a nice softball. This is your opportunity to distance yourself from the failures of Biden. And she didn't see it for what it was and is like, no, I think it was great. Everything's going good. Oh my gosh.
It's not. You have no clue. You idiots stopped all the drilling and everything else. And there's such a shortage of oil. I think he wrote Rich Man, Poor Man, and he's worth a lot of money. He goes, I have a lot of stuff in oil. He said, all they did was make me richer when they shut off oil because now it's more scarce. When they shut off that pipeline building it went from, what did he say? It was like $35, $40 a barrel to 110. Yep. He goes, good for me, not good for America, but good for me.
Absolutely. I mean, but that's the thing, though, is like you mentioned earlier, is that they don't really care about what the truth is, saying that he doesn't have a plan. His economics, and there's an ad running right now.
Lies.
Yeah, there's an ad right now that Kamala, I hear it every night, her campaign has put out saying that Trump is going to implement a sales tax, a national sales tax. I have never heard him say anything about that. I've never read one thing about that. It's all made up, and it's only for and I hate saying it like this, but the low IQ people out there that don't know any better, that are just buying it. And I just don't have a whole lot of patience with all that. So.
No, I used to look at MSN all the time just to get a different perspective. What is the left? And it is just absolute bold-faced lies. When I saw the person they're talking about talking in front of Congress, saying words, and they're saying this is what they said. No, it wasn't. Yep. I saw the whole thing.
It didn't happen that way. But again, they count on the ignorance of the voters or the people they're talking to. So, and
they're stupid. They won't check it out. Oh, yeah. They've been doing that. And I just saw a deal popped up an email that Newsmax is saying that trust in media has plunged. No.
I would have never guessed. But Newsmax is actually one of those that does take things here. It's a new company. It's taking things from different perspectives. They do have Chris Cuomo and some of the other conservative people coming on there and actually having a conversation, which is what we ought to have.
Yeah, the conversations and just I'm only this way and I got blinders on and I'm not looking anywhere else. That's not right either. That's why I always was going to MSN to see, well, what's their take on things?
Yeah.
Wow, it's just quotes from either MSNBC or CNN. It's just right along the lines of, well, they told me that they thought I did.
Yeah, like you said, it's just bold-faced lies. The truth doesn't seem to matter.
No critical thinking at all. Anyway, I've got such a horrible taste in my mouth
we
today.
need a palate cleanser there, don't we? Yeah.
This agenda was bad, and it's getting worse the closer we get, but thank God it's almost over.
I know. Like I said, here in Georgia, we start early voting today. If you get a chance, go out there, vote a couple of times if you get a chance today.
Everybody else says, why not?
Why not? If you can't beat them, join them. We have another Paul Harvey rest of the story, and that is, let me see here. And it's about the person that is responsible for daylight savings time. If you're not familiar with who that is.
Up November, what is it? Let's see, it'd be November 3rd.
November 3rd, that's right.
Yep. You got to change it at 2:00 in the morning, November 3rd. Because I get up every year at 2:00 in the morning.
Of course we do.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Of course we do. Anyway, this person, that's just one of his infamous failures. So, of course, Paul Harvey is very gracious to this person. He is no longer with us, thankfully. And so Paul Harvey is just nice. He's just too nice. So here is the rest of the story.
Now, the rest of the story. Little Tommy had everything that money could buy. And yet the thing he needed most, he could not buy at any price. Frail, bespectacled, quiet, Tommy was labeled a slow learner, a hopeless dunce. Indeed, until the age of 12, he could not read, not at all. He was read to by members of the family. He would listen enthralled to the tales of Cooper and Scott and Dickens, but he could not read them nor anything else. Otherwise, Tommy's advantages in life were many. His parents were Southerners. They lived in the Deep South all during the Uncivil War and subsequent Reconstruction. Yet not once during that time, while Tommy was growing up, despite the hardships all around them, not once did the family want for the slightest necessity or luxury. Tommy's father was known as an outstanding scholar. More than anything, he wished for a learned son. Tutors were hired. Dad even tried teaching Tommy himself. But the results were always the same. The youngster just never quite caught on. At 13, Tommy was finally reading, but only painstakingly. At last, his father surrendered. The boy simply could not absorb knowledge, it seemed. And yet, even if Tommy were virtually ineducable, he could at least become a gentleman, and so his dad set out to make him a gentleman. And over the years that followed, Tommy was encouraged to rehearse the social graces. In these, he became adept. But all of his life, Tommy was to read with the utmost difficulty, and that might have ruined him. Today we call it dyslexia, the inability to organize letters and words on a page and pour them effectively into one's mind. That was Tommy's problem. Dyslexia may be caused by a number of conditions: brain damage, low intelligence, emotional disorders, even adverse social circumstances, but none of these conditions applied to Tommy. His case is now said to have been one of developmental dyslexia. That's a highly specific and presumably congenital inability to recognize words and letters easily. Decades before the condition had been identified and described, it made Tommy appear stupid, actually unable to learn. Well, today, regarding the condition of dyslexia in general, and Tommy's case in particular, today we know much different. For once upon a time, there was a poor little rich boy, a youngster whose learning was limited to the stories which had to be read to him by his parents and his sisters. His reputation as ineducable temporarily obscured what was actually a natural leadership ability. It was evident when he was at play with other children, and little might anyone have imagined that the boy's early lack of literary skill forced him to focus on the spoken word. And do you know what? Eventually that made him a very fine speaker. And there was another quality which Tommy possessed, one that made all the difference. That was determination. To learn despite his reading difficulties, to become educated at Princeton, no less, to finish law school, to get elected President of the United States. The poor little rich boy whom no one thought would amount to anything was Thomas Woodrow Wilson. And now you know the rest of the story.
Certainly not my favorite president.
No, he's rather a big progressive and caused a lot of problems that we're dealing with now.
Racist, the whole thing. But anyway, but he overcame a lot of stuff. So I appreciate Paul Harvey's graciousness of this guy. So anyway, that was our palate cleanser, and that is the rest of the story and our show. We hope you were somewhat informed and had fun like we did.
We're done. Bye.
Don't forget, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, Smart Speaker, all those places, and wherever you get your podcasts, Rumble.
And don't forget, you can check us out on OracleTalkRadioNetwork.com on Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. To listen to our show, instead of worrying about the traffic, you can just, two knuckleheads yibbity yabbering to each other, I guess. That's not a term to use anymore, is it?
No, you can't say knucklehead anymore because
I don't want to be associated with
Tim
no.
Tampon Tim is
how about two goofballs?
There you go.
We have fun. We have a good time. So just go to OracleTalkRadioNetwork.com, scroll down a little bit, and there's a play button, and you're all set. Or you can just go to our website at StayOffMyLawn.us for all our past and present episodes.
And we'll see you next week, folks.
Toodles, and thanks so much for listening. We appreciate all of you. Have a great day now. Well, we had fun and hope you did too. The opinions heard here today are not those of anyone other than Mike and Richard. If it made you laugh or go, or even, then we've done our job. Sort of. Well, mostly anyway. And if we made you think about things in a common sense manner, we welcome you to the club. And if it didn't, then just stay off my lawn. See you next time.